everybody. I'm very happy to be here at the first GHA Council under the Belgian presidency, an important day, also with important topics on the agenda. As for migration, for example, there is of course the European Pact on Asylum and Migration. Better managing migration, that's what the Pact's all about, and we have now finally reached an agreement on a historic reform of our migration policy, but we have to turn this reform on paper into concrete action on the ground, and that's what the Belgian presidency will do. We are fully committed to implement this deal, to implement what we have decided. So we will transform first a political deal into a formal deal. That's why we are working very hard to finalize all the legal texts. And then we see the implementation also as a common challenge for all member states, because it will fundamentally change the way in which we deal with asylum and migration on the ground, at the external borders, and also within our territories. And this is what European citizens deserve. This is also what people seeking protection in Europe deserve. Now, a second theme we want to address today is a forward-looking reflection exercise on how to prepare for the future of Ukrainian refugees and the use of the temporary protection measures. As you all know, unfortunately, the war is not over yet. And currently, the temporary protection measures are foreseen to end in March 2025, and that's sooner than we think. And good politicians need to be prepared for the future. That's why we have put this topic on the agenda, because we cannot postpone a reflection on different scenarios anymore. And I am convinced that our commitment to and our solidarity with Ukraine and its citizens will guide us in this reflection today.
Minister, what exactly does reflection mean? We know that the Ukrainian government, talking to officials concerning the return of Ukrainian refugees back to Ukraine. When we talk about reflections, does it mean motivating people to go back?
Well, that's what we are going to discuss today, how the future could be like in different scenarios, because it's very difficult to prevent. And as you know, unfortunately, the war is not over yet. And Europe has always been and shown solidarity to Ukraine and its citizens and refugees fleeing a war situation. And this solidarity will also guide us in this reflection.
Furthermore, we are at the beginning of a very important election year, not only in Europe, but in Europe and people around the world are involved. And deepfakes are becoming a really bigger problem when it comes to influencing vote. How big is this danger, and what is the strategy of the European Union?
Well, the topic of deepfakes is also on the agenda, and my colleague Minister Annelies Verlinden will inform you on that.
Minister, one more question. Yesterday there was the Port Alliance with the open ceremony in Antwerp. However, we have experts on drug trafficking who say the European Union, especially those parts are Antwerp and Rotterdam, it's already too late. They already lost the war. So what else can we do?
Well, my colleague Annelies Verlinden, who is Minister of Internal Affairs, has took this initiative because it's very important to have one European voice in this. It's a very strong initiative, and she will tell you all about it later today. Okay, thank you very much.
Good morning to everyone. It's an important day for the Belgian presidency as we'll be talking security. In the morning, the discussion on asylum and migration will be hosted by Nicole de Moor, and we will have a lunch on the impact of artificial intelligence in the field of security. And later on, we will discuss some high priority topics, all related to security, like the fight against organized crime, the fight against terrorism, the roadmap the Commission has proposed, recommendations of the thematic Schengen evaluation of main logistic hubs. Yesterday we launched the EU Ports Alliance public-private partnership, which is an extremely important tool in the fight against organized crime and drug trafficking. I'm looking forward to a very fruitful day.
Minister Berlin, we are at the beginning of a very important election year in Europe, but also beyond. And deepfakes are becoming an even bigger problem in the influence of elections. So this launch today, can we expect any strategies coming out from it? And what exactly does the EU want to do in order to fight this misuse of AI?
Well, it's also one of the priorities, the fight against online disinformation and fake news, because it's a threat for our democracies. We believe we need to work at two levels. On the one hand, we need to have the tools, provide the tools to our police and security services in order to equip them with the right licenses, packages, in order to fight that fake news and disinformation. And we want to exchange good practices, also learn from a technological point of view what is possible when it comes to these tools. On the other hand, as long as we don't have all the tools in place, we also must invest in prevention. It's extremely important as citizens, for sure also youngsters, do realize that not all the news, not all the images they're seeing on their screens that are pushed by algorithms are true. And so we need to train and form our citizens to be aware and also to be resilient for online disinformation. If you look at a global risk report, fake news and online disinformations are one of the biggest threats apart from all the other threats. So we're very much aware about the actual nature of this debate, and that was exactly the reason why I wanted to put this on the agenda for this informal Council of the European Ministers today.
How concerned are you that these deepfakes or other fake news can actually influence the outcome of the European election?
Well, I am concerned, but I'm not panicked. I mean, the fake news, the online disinformation, fake images are at the beginning, but we must not be naive. And that's the reason exactly why we want to exchange good practices and see whatever we can do. The European Commission is also taking this very seriously, and I'm convinced that with the initiatives they are taking, we will be stronger and more resilient. Thank you.
You mentioned the Port Alliance. Whenever we as public broadcasters are in Rotterdam or even in Antwerp talking to experts about drug trafficking, they tell us, okay, we're always too late. So saying that drug trafficking are always a step ahead. So what exactly does this Port Alliance do? How exactly can it tackle the problem?
Well, of course, we know it's an uphill battle, and of course, we know that given the large amounts of money that are circulating in these criminal networks, it's a tough fight, but we will fight it. And I have the feeling and the sentiment with all the initiatives we have taken on a national level in Belgium, but also on an international European level, that we're stronger and more resilient. We have seized record amounts of volumes of cocaine in the port of Antwerp last year. There is a close collaboration now between important European countries in that coalition of countries in the fight against organized crime. And yesterday we added to that a public-private partnership, because it's the private partners who do have the technology, who do have the knowledge on the routes of the containers, of the non-anticipated routes of the containers, and they can help the police services to be more efficient. So it is tough. I'm not saying that we will win that war tomorrow, but we need to fight it, and sometimes it's also hard to measure what we have prevented by putting more boots on the ground, by investing more in our police services.
Did you wait too long for that?
Well, it's an important fight. We didn't wait for incidents to happen. This legislature in Belgium, for instance, we invested almost $500 million additionally in the police services. We invest in international collaboration, and I'm very glad that the European Commission is also stepping up its efforts in the relationships with the countries of origin of production and the countries of the destination of the illegal profits. Sorry? That will also be on the agenda probably this morning. Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Pour le Luxembourg, l'accord frontière Schengen est bien sûr très important. Je suis ministre du gouvernement luxembourgeois, donc Schengen nous tient vraiment à cœur. Et pour garantir Schengen, il faut qu'on augmente et qu'on soit plus efficace dans les contrôles des frontières extérieures de l'Union européenne. Hier, on a aussi déjà pu discuter de l'intelligence artificielle, comment on peut utiliser cette nouvelle méthode pour mieux lutter contre la criminalité. Il faut qu'on organise un network des bons pour lutter contre le network de la criminalité. On va aussi discuter de la protection temporaire. Le Luxembourg aujourd'hui accueille plus de 4200 bénéficiaires de protection temporaire, bien sûr, surtout de l'Ukraine. Et mon gouvernement est prêt à prolonger cette protection temporaire au-delà de mars 2025. Ja. Wie gesagt, Schengen ist sehr wichtig für uns und ich habe auch letztes Jahr im Dezember von den österreichischen Kollegen auch verstanden, dass die sich bewegen. Die Außengrenzen müssen besser kontrolliert werden, weil nur eine effiziente Außenkontrolle ermöglicht es, Schengen aufrechtzuerhalten. Und jedes Land in der EU möchte Schengen aufrechterhalten. Das ist das Wichtigste. Danke. Ich habe zum Teil Verständnis dafür, muss aber auch, Schengen muss aufrechterhalten bleiben, unbedingt.
Beim Arbeitsplatz mit künstlicher Intelligenz, wir stehen ja kurz vor einem nächsten Wahljahr. Wir sind mit dem nächsten Wahljahr in den USA gewählt, in Indien, aber auch in Europa. Welche Strategien möchten Sie heute besprechen, konkret, um Bürgerinnen und Bürger in der EU zu schützen vor Fake News, vor Fakes, vor dem Missbrauch künstlicher Intelligenz, der auch auf die Wahlen Einfluss nehmen könnte?
Ist ein sehr großes Anliegen meiner Regierung. Die künstliche Intelligenz ist ein neues Mittel. Auch wir können das positiv umsetzen. Wir können es gebrauchen, um den Fortschritt zu gewährleisten in verschiedenen Bereichen, sei es in industriellen Bereichen, auch in der Kommunikation. Aber wir müssen auch dank dieser künstlichen Intelligenz auch das Network der Kriminalität bekämpfen, weil wir dürfen nicht immer hinter den Kriminellen hinterherlaufen. Wir brauchen dieses Know-how, weil wir müssen die Bürger und Bürgerinnen schützen vor Deepfake News und so weiter. Und wir werden heute Nachmittag darüber diskutieren. Für Luxemburg ist es wichtig, dass wir die Bürger und Bürgerinnen schützen und dass wir auf der anderen Seite die Vorteile dieser künstlichen Intelligenz nutzen, um den Fortschritt in Europa zu gewährleisten. Danke.
Welche konkreten Maßnahmen könnte es hier geben zum Schutz der Bürgerinnen und Bürger?
Das werden wir heute Nachmittag diskutieren. Danke.
Worauf machen Sie sich da gefasst? Sie müssen ja diese Szenarios schon durchdenken und müssen dann reagieren können. Das Bilder, sind das gefakte Videos?
Das sind gefakte Videos, das sind Bilder, das sind auch Speeches von Politikern, die dann gefaked werden. Wir müssen darauf vorbereitet sein. Wir müssen ein Mittel finden, dass die Leute wirklich, die Bürger und Bürgerinnen wirklich den Unterschied zwischen Real News und Fake News machen können und auch verstehen können. Das ist die Challenge heute Nachmittag. Danke.
Good morning to you all. I'm the Chair of the Committee of Liberty and Home Affairs, representing regularly the European Parliament in the Justice and Home Affairs Council of Ministers. We're coming to the final end of this mandate of us, 2019-2024, and believe me, we have done everything at our hand in order to deliver to our very best in the field of home affairs and in the field of justice. But today we're discussing home affairs. We have done everything to learn the lessons drawn from the experience of the pandemic by putting in place a new Schengen governance, making sure that free movement stays essential as a fundamental right protected by EU law, but also regulated by EU law, setting rules for the member states which are binding for all of them when it comes to suspending free movement in extraordinary circumstances as we saw. But there's much to deliver through the Belgian presidency, because there's still pending the child sexual abuse online that was adopted by the European Parliament as a mandate, pending from the general approach of the Council. The Council must make up its mind in such a relevant piece of legislation. We agreed just this week, late at night, as is usually the case, the regulation against trafficking of human beings, major achievement, pending from the Council to come to an understanding, to an agreement through the interinstitutional negotiation we call trilogues. And it may happen, it may well happen through the Belgian presidency too. Gender violence, also essential. But then I refer to a major achievement of this mandate of the European Parliament. For long, we have done everything to put in place a European common asylum system, a European common migration system. It's the mandate of the Treaty of Lisbon. And yet, it wasn't there. It should be based on the principles of shared responsibility and binding solidarity. Solidarity as a mandate for the European Union. Finally, the European Parliament came to an agreement with the Council. After hard work, years of hard work, it was strenuous, particularly the final phase of the negotiations. It took the final phase 3 days and 2 nights, negotiating round the clock, because it's 5 regulations intertwined, they make up a system, so they should stick together, and we negotiated thoroughly every piece of legislation so that we overcome the shortcomings and the loopholes of the previous status quo, which was simply untenable, in order to make sure that there would be shared responsibility and solidarity in place when it comes to migration and asylum issues. So we only hope that in good faith, the sooner the better, both the Council and the European Parliament will actually endorse the relevant mandates coming after this strenuous, lengthy, hard-working negotiation that took us years, much energy, many hours. So it's to the Council to endorse the outcome of the agreement, and it's for the European Parliament to have a final vote. That would mean the final step for the new Migration and Asylum Pact to enter into force in our plenary session in Strasbourg, April, before the end of this mandate. And that would be really good news, because we have heard a cry many times in the external borders of the European Union: where is the European Union when facing migration and asylum challenges, particularly after search and rescue operation? Now there will be some binding rules for all the member states, particularly when it comes to providing solidarity to the frontline member states, which is the case of the country I belong, Spain, and the region where I come from, the Canaries.
How concerned are you about the influence of deepfakes and other use of artificial intelligence in the upcoming campaign for the European elections?
Absolutely. We have cared about it for long. We have worked very hard in order to bring about all the kind of responses we need. Of course, well aware that we're in the side of a revolution which is underway, unstoppable, technological informational revolution. First of all, we have put in place Artificial Intelligence Act. For the first time, the European Union is in the forefront of the regulation before the big giants of this technological revolution, setting rules and protecting fundamental rights, having in mind that the standard happens to be the highest in the world. The standard we set when we put in place the General Data Protection Regulation and the Data Protection Package, which sets the standard highest in the world in this regard. But then it's always a challenge which takes first regulating to sanction violations of EU law, education, that means digital literacy. We have cared about that so that European citizens get to know the difference between truth and outright lies, which are well spread in the social nets, and then, of course, protecting the integrity of European democratic process. So we care a lot. I think the European Union is investing increasing fund, increasing budget, money, the taxpayers' money, into protecting the integrity and the credibility of European electoral process, not only at the European scale when it comes to electing to the European Parliament, but also in national elections to protect from foreign interference. We know what we're talking of.
But sir, what exactly are you expecting concerning deepfakes? Videos, fake pictures. What exactly do you have in mind when talking about deepfakes in the European elections?
It's all outside. It's all outside, not only for a member of the European Parliament, for every citizen. We know that we are facing a revolution which is unstoppable, in which technology makes it possible. Deep fake, with violation of your privacy, of the confidentiality of your image, of your public speech, which means that anyone can be distorted, anyone can be twisted the other way around. So we need to protect the European citizens from outright lies, and that means that we have set rules. That is precisely what artificial intelligence is all about. It's precisely set first forbidden uses which are banned. For instance, massive face recognition, indiscriminate face recognition for the sake of discrimination or profiling. Or for instance, banned uses when it comes to impact on fundamental rights, health, education, justice systems. So we have put in place rules in order precisely to protect the European citizens before the technological advancements and changes that we are just inside of. And that means that we have put in place obligations for the service providers and for the big technological giants. If they want to operate in the European Union market, they have to stick by the rules, and there are sanctions if they violate those laws. And there will be an office, an Intelligence Act office, aiming to become an agency eventually, anytime. Yes, that was the aim of the European Parliament, but the Council didn't agree in the final end of the negotiations. But we're on the right track. We're setting standards to protect European citizens from those kind of threats to the integrity not only of the democratic process in all, but also for fundamental rights, individual fundamental rights, which are essential. Claro, por supuesto. Adelante. Thank you.
Buenos días a todos. Gracias por venir. Yo creo que hoy pues vamos a celebrar un Consejo Informal High importante porque ya es de los últimos consejos High dentro de esta legislatura del Parlamento Europeo. Podemos hacer, en primer lugar, si me permitís, un balance de lo que ha sido la presidencia española el último semestre del año anterior. Creo que nos podemos sentir satisfechos como presidencia, pero también como Unión Europea, no solo España, sino el resto de 27 Estados miembros. Hemos conseguido algo tan importante como el acuerdo político del pacto migratorio, una cuestión en la que veníamos trabajando, debatiendo en los últimos 6-7 años, con lo cual creo que la satisfacción es importante porque creo que hemos alcanzado ese pacto que permite a la inmensa mayoría de los Estados miembros sentirnos absolutamente tranquilos para la gestión de los flujos migratorios. Una gestión ordenada y en parámetros de respeto, como no podía ser de otra forma, a los derechos humanos y donde se conjuga un principio muy importante, no solamente a la responsabilidad de los Estados de primera entrada, sino también la solidaridad, esa solidaridad compartida, flexible, pero solidaridad. Y luego también quería hacer una mención a esa entrada ya importante de Rumanía y de Bulgaria en el espacio Schengen. Creo que será un objetivo también de la presidencia española, lo conseguimos en el último día y esa satisfacción por lo que representa, por el trabajo realizado tanto por Rumanía como Bulgaria en los últimos años, no podía ser otra la conclusión, con lo cual esa satisfacción. Encaminamos este último semestre, como decía al principio, de la legislatura y tenemos todavía desafíos importantes, como en primer lugar la implementación del pacto migratorio y también otras materias, como hoy hablaremos también, aparte del pacto migratorio, de buscar la normativa razonable y adecuada para la protección temporal de los ciudadanos, de las ciudadanas ucranianas, con el fin de satisfacer evidentemente sus pretensiones, de encontrar el marco normativo adecuado para seguir dándoles la protección precisa. En segundo lugar también vamos a hablar de la lucha contra la criminalidad organizada, dentro de la criminalidad organizada contra las organizaciones dedicadas al narcotráfico. Saben también el esfuerzo que hizo España durante la presidencia para mantener relaciones ya perfectamente estructuradas con nuestros socios de Latinoamérica. El 28 de septiembre de 2023 celebramos una reunión de conjunto, ministros de Interior de la Unión Europea y ministros del Interior latinoamericanos. Se han establecido unas relaciones, yo diría, que satisfactorias, con un objetivo único y concreto, que es hacer frente a la criminalidad organizada, al narcotráfico, que tiene tales efectos negativos en el conjunto de la sociedad. Primero, porque se inocula, tiene la capacidad evidentemente de inocularse en nuestras instituciones, afecta a nuestros derechos, a nuestra seguridad en nuestros países y también afecta al desarrollo y al marco económico de todos nosotros. Con lo cual es una satisfacción que ayer, por ejemplo, se lanzara dentro del plan de acción de la Comisión contra la criminalidad organizada la Alianza Europea de Puertos, como una de las medidas más adecuadas en el objetivo anteriormente aludido. Y seguiremos trabajando en esa medida. Y también hablaremos de algo que ahora nos ocupa, nos preocupa a todos, que es de la inteligencia artificial y de cómo las organizaciones criminales también utilizan la inteligencia artificial con fines absolutamente delictivos y con el fin de poner en tela de juicio la confianza de los ciudadanos en el conjunto de las instituciones. Pero también la inteligencia artificial tenemos nosotros que hacer que la misma sea fiable, también nosotros sacar el rendimiento objetivo claro de la inteligencia artificial con el fin de dar seguridad al conjunto de los ciudadanos y, por lo tanto, que nuestras fuerzas y cuerpos de seguridad del Estado puedan hacer uso de esa inteligencia artificial con fines propositivos, con fines de, vuelvo a decir, de hacer frente a la propia criminalidad que utiliza la misma, pero en términos absolutamente poco éticos y siempre, evidentemente, con respecto a los derechos fundamentales. Con lo cual, yo creo que tenemos un Consejo Informal importante y con objetivos siempre muy claros, seguir avanzando en la cooperación.
Ministro, hablando de los flujos migratorios antes, hemos leído que hay problemas de entendimiento en España y Frontex ahora mismo y que por ello se han suspendido las operaciones en el Mediterráneo y Canarias. Quería confirmar con usted si es así, si ahora mismo se han paralizado las operaciones y cuáles son los problemas y qué van a hacer.
Bueno, en primer lugar, gracias por la pregunta. Referir en primer lugar que nuestra relación ya de años con la agencia Frontex y las operaciones conjuntas es una relación estrecha, positiva y de mutua confianza. Estas cuestiones suelen acontecer todos los años a la hora de renovar todos los planes operativos de actuación entre Frontex y los distintos países de la Unión Europea donde existen los acuerdos, en este caso España. La cuestión es una cuestión técnica, no es una cuestión operativa. El pasado 18 de enero, es decir, no hace justo una semana, entró en vigor una modificación de las normas de protección de datos dentro de Frontex. Esta circunstancia conlleva que haya que readaptar las propuestas de acuerdo a esos fines. La propuesta de acuerdo está en la mesa de Frontex y evidentemente estos son cuestiones diría de horas más que de días. No es una cuestión significativa, sino es una cuestión, por así decirlo, de gestión ordinaria dentro de la prórroga de los planes de actuación, manteniendo la cooperación absolutamente cercana, fiable y de una lealtad máxima. Lo que pasa es que muchas veces acontecen cuestiones técnicas, como la referida de una modificación en materia de protección de datos, que requieren readaptar el texto del acuerdo dentro de esos planes.
Quería preguntarle también al ministro del Interior y de la experiencia como fiscal de la Audiencia Nacional, ¿cree usted que hay terrorismo compatible con los derechos humanos?
Bueno, lo que vuelvo a decir es que todo el mundo esté absolutamente tranquilo. Serán las resoluciones judiciales las que digan las cuestiones de qué hechos revisten el carácter de terrorismo y qué hechos no lo revisten, pero serán las resoluciones judiciales. Dejémoslo en ese contexto y una tranquilidad al conjunto de la sociedad. La ley de amnistía, como salga del Parlamento, va a ser una ley de amnistía absolutamente conforme con la Constitución española, que nadie tenga duda al respecto. Vuelvo a decir que la ley que salga de las Cortes Generales, del Congreso y del Senado, de las Cortes Generales, va a ser una ley absolutamente conforme a los principios y valores de nuestra Constitución, que nadie tenga duda al respecto y que nadie enfrente en esas cuestiones, sobre todo en cuestiones donde yo creo que todos fuimos conscientes durante 50 años de lo que sufrió este país con el terrorismo de ETA. Me parece que lo razonable es poner las cuestiones en el sitio donde deben de estar. Y esta ley de amnistía, esta proposición de ley de amnistía, cuando salga del Parlamento español, será una ley absolutamente conforme a los principios y valores de nuestra Constitución, que es lo relevante y lo importante.
Entonces, ministro, para entenderlo técnicamente, por ejemplo, las personas que se les encontró explosivos en sus casas, que no han violado supuestamente los derechos humanos, pero se han encontrado, hay indicios de que se encontraran explosivos, las personas que pasarían.
Vuelvo a decir, serán los tribunales, una vez que tengan la ley, una vez que la ley de amnistía esté publicada en el Boletín Oficial del Estado y entre en vigor, cuando los jueces aplicarán la ley como aplican el resto de las normas, de conformidad al espíritu de la ley y a los valores constitucionales.
¿Qué más medidas va a tomar el Gobierno y su Ministerio para resolver la situación en la que se encuentran los migrantes en Barajas?
Bueno, es una cuestión que ya estamos abordando, pero no ya. Desde el minuto 1 la abordamos ante una situación extraordinaria, excepcional de peticiones de protección internacional en el aeropuerto de Barajas. Tenemos hemos incrementado el número de instalaciones habilitadas a los efectos de hacer la gestión con el conjunto de solicitantes de protección internacional cuando ingresan en Barajas en distintos vuelos y haciendo escala. Con lo cual están todos los medios, tanto de instalaciones materiales como personales. También se han incrementado el número de agentes de Policía Nacional para realizar las oportunas entrevistas, las oportunas gestiones. Ya son 54 los miembros del Cuerpo Nacional de Policía, de la Comisaría General de Extranjería al respecto, pero también de la Oficina de Asilo y Refugio, también dependiente del Ministerio del Interior. Con lo cual la situación es una situación de control, una situación, como he dicho, extraordinaria, pero de control porque tenemos los medios necesarios y la capacidad de respuesta ante una circunstancia de esa naturaleza. Gracias. Gracias. Seguimos trabajando y evidentemente dentro del marco de la política de la Unión Europea en materia de visados y en materia de protección internacional. Vale, gracias. Me tengo Evidentemente, el Partido Socialista Obrero Español nunca ha estado en el extrarradio de la Constitución. El Partido Socialista Obrero Español es el partido que ha estado en la Constitución desde el minuto 1. Yo creo que ningún otro partido ha votado siempre a la Constitución y ha tenido una labor tan importante en defensa de esta Constitución. Creo que en ese aspecto decir esa cuestión es desconocer la historia, el presente y el futuro del Partido Socialista Obrero Español. Quien ha estado siempre con la Constitución lo está y lo seguirá estando. Muchas gracias.
Very good morning, everybody, and hello from Finland. I'm waiting for a lot to have this discussion today. We are having very important topics like gang-related, drug-related crimes, and which is we all are facing the same kind of problems. And I also will inform my colleagues as a situation in our eastern border with Russia, which is also border with EU. And I will tell my colleagues that we are still having our border crossing points closed until February, and I will update here what is going on and how we see the situation in Finland at the moment. Thank you. Finland is very committed to help Ukrainian, and we will help Ukraine as long as it takes. If I would be Ukrainian government, I will ask people to come back, of course, when the war is over. But until then, Europe and Finland should help Ukrainians as much as they need. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. I'm Dimitris Keridis from Greece. Yes, okay. So, should I start? Thank you. Okay. We left 2023 with some good successes, solid, robust successes, including the agreement on the Pact on Migration and Asylum. We now have to conclude that negotiation under the Belgian presidency, and I feel very optimistic about that. But we still have a lot of challenges ahead to deal with. we have to continue strengthening both the external and the internal dimension of managing migration. And while the international environment is getting fuller and fuller by crisis. We are particularly worried about what is going on in the Middle East and the effect that might have on migrant flows into Europe. So for all this, we are ready to talk and discuss further today here in Brussels. Thank you. Yes, this is one major topic. Obviously, as you know, millions of Ukrainians are under provisional protection in Europe. In my country, we have 26,000, and we recently have offered them resident permits and a legal pathway to migration if they choose to do so. It's an overall challenge, but I would say that European societies have been very receptive and better at welcoming our fellow Europeans from Ukraine. Yes, I know that, and I've been talking with the Ukrainian ambassador in Athens a lot. Obviously, when the situation stabilizes in Ukraine, many of them will choose to do so. But we are here to offer them whatever they need in the meantime. Thank you.
Das ist noch völlig unklar. Es ist sowieso nicht klar, wie die Schweiz das umsetzen wird, weil die Verordnungen noch gar nicht verabschiedet wurden durch die EU. Wir werden das sehr genau anschauen, wenn es dann auch fertig beraten ist. Aber grundsätzlich sehen wir diesen Pakt oder diesen Vertrag positiv und glauben, dass er auch für die Schweiz sehr hilfreich sein wird, letztlich das Problem der Migration in den Griff zu bekommen.
Ein anderes Thema ist der Kampf gegen den internationalen Drogenhandel. Seit einiger Zeit schwappt eine regelrechte Kokainwelle über Europa hinweg. Die Schweiz ist nicht verschont. Die Schweizer Städte sind regelmäßig mit Top 10, was den Konsum angeht. Wie groß ist das Kokainproblem der Schweiz und was wollen Sie dagegen tun als Vorschläge?
Ja, es ist ein riesiges Thema, das organisierte Verbrechen und auch der Drogenhandel ist in der Schweiz ist ein großes Konsumland. FEDPOL ist hier schon lange zusammen mit den Kantonen unterwegs und versucht natürlich auch, diesen Banden letztlich das Genick zu brechen. Ist aber eine ausgesprochen schwierige Aufgabe, die man nur gemeinsam lösen kann. Deshalb begrüße ich diese Initiative hier sehr, auch diese Hafeninitiative, die gestern gestartet wurde, damit nur durch gute Koordination, Absprache und auch Austausch von Information kann man dieses wachsende Problem, es ist nicht nur das Drogenproblem an sich, sondern die ganze Kriminalität, die damit einherkommt, damit man das in den Griff bekommen kann.
Deutschland führt im Moment sehr intensive Grenzkontrollen an der Grenze zur Schweiz durch, unter anderem in Basel. Was sagen Sie dazu? Werden Sie das Thema heute mit den deutschen Kolleginnen besprechen?
Der Bundesrat hat das schon mehrfach adressiert. Wir sind nicht begeistert von diesen Grenzkontrollen, auch wenn sie im Moment keine großen Störungen in der Schweiz verursachen, sind sie eigentlich gegen die Abmachungen und deshalb werde ich das auch gegenüber Frau Faeser erwähnen. Wir als Bundesrat haben uns bis jetzt dagegen gewehrt und das ist immer noch unsere Haltung.
Ist das ein Thema, seit eventuell die Schweiz auch Grenzkontrollen, beispielsweise an der Südgrenze?
Das war bis jetzt kein Thema bei mir oder beim Bundesrat.
Monsieur le Conseil fédéral, aujourd'hui vous êtes ici à Bruxelles. Quelles sont vos attentes de ces 2 jours ici en Europe?
Ja, das Wichtigste ist jetzt, Menschen kennenzulernen, mich in die Dossiers weiter einarbeiten zu können, auch zu verstehen, was unsere Nachbarländer besonders beschäftigt. Mit ihnen werde ich besonders viel zu tun haben. Diese Fragen der internationalen Sicherheit einerseits, aber auch der Migration andererseits, das sind riesige Fragen, die kann man nur gemeinsam lösen und am besten kann man das tun, wenn man sich kennt, wenn man weiß, was die gegenseitigen Bedürfnisse, Anliegen sind und sich so auf einen Prozess, auf einen gemeinsamen Dialogprozess einlassen kann. Ich freue mich darauf. Ich habe schon gestern sehr gute Begegnungen gehabt und die werde ich heute vertiefen und ausbauen können.
Haben Sie konkrete bilaterale Treffen heute?
Ja, es ist vereinbart, dass ich verschiedene Leute treffe, aber ich gehe davon, ich werde fast alle treffen. Also bilateral, nein, nicht in einem separaten Setting, das nicht, nein. Einfach kennenlernen, aber das ist zum Teil recht ergiebig.
Sie sind auch Teil des Europaausschusses im Bundesrat. Wie werden Sie sich in der EU-Politik in dem Bundesrat?
Ja, ich werde seine jetzt aufgegleiste Strategie mittragen, auf jeden Fall. Und werde das natürlich auch bei meinen Begegnungen mit Außenministerinnen, Außenministern oder Innenministerinnen, Innenministern, jetzt wie hier, werde ich das natürlich auch einbringen. Aber im Moment ist das Dossier aufgegleist. Wir sind jetzt nicht in einer Verhandlungsphase oder noch nicht in einer Verhandlungsphase aus meiner Sicht. Deshalb ist das nicht der Ort jetzt für mich, für EU-Politik. Ah, ja, wenn eine Frage kommt.
J'avais une question, mais ça va aller pour ça.
Okay. Merci. Yes. Well, we have about 66,000 refugees in Switzerland. About 100,000 applied for protection. Some of them already went back. Some went back and came again to Switzerland. So we still have this status S, we call it, the protected status in Switzerland, and intend to coordinate with the EU in terms of when and how to end this status. I had the privilege to talk to President Zelensky in Davos for a long time, and he was clear that he expects his people to come back as soon as possible. So whatever we do, for example, also to integrate these people within the Swiss labor market, whatever we do, it should be, kept in mind that these people want and should go back to help their country to rebuild and to proceed.
Some actions to boost coming back Ukrainians to Ukraine.
Sorry?
Do you have some proposals how to boost?
Well, I think I'm very interested to hear today the debate, the discussion about the status and what the EU country think about it. It's clear that Switzerland cannot go alone. We should go coordinated with the EU. We don't have an ending of our status. So Switzerland hasn't decided that it should end in 25 yet, but we should coordinate. And it's also clear that the costs, for Switzerland, they're here. They're quite high. The pressure from the people, to how can we deal these costs in the future, is also here. So and at the same time, Ukraine asks for them to come back. We will see what we can do with that, but it's clear that at the moment, these people still need protection. The attacks from Russia, they're severe. They're in some cities that they've never been, so that the situation is absolutely unsolved. And at the moment, they have no future in the country itself, although lots of them have no future in the country itself. It's a very, very difficult situation. Thank you.
Good. Okay.
Good morning. I'm really looking forward to work with the Belgian presidency And this meeting today will be an opportunity to take stock of the great achievements late last year. The biggest historical achievement with the agreement on the whole pact on migration and asylum. And now, during the Belgian presidency, we will focus on the implementation. We will also take stock of the big achievement of the access of Romania and Bulgaria into Schengen that we achieved at the last days during the Spanish presidency. And this will, of course, also a very, very important achievement. Then we will also discuss the fight against organized crime and drug trafficking. As you probably know, I presented a roadmap to fight organized crime and drug trafficking in October. It was very well received. Yesterday, we launched one of those action points, the EU Port Alliance. We launched it in Antwerp yesterday, and it was a great success, I must say, with all these stakeholders coming together. Of course, now it's time to roll up your sleeve and start working, but I think we have a very good momentum in this private-public partnership. Very interestingly, this presidency had also put a discussion on generative AI for the lunch discussion, and I think this is very timely because the technology is developing so fast, and this is extremely important that we start discussing how law enforcement should deal with this. Just to give you one example, when it comes to child sexual abuse, we see now that this has been also created by generative AI, using pictures of ordinary children with clothes and creating child sexual abuse material out of those as a way to bullying children. And we will see more of this kind, and that's also a real challenge for police to know when there is a fake child sexual abuse video or when it's a real one where they need to go rescue the child. So I very much welcome that this is on the agenda today.
Commissioner, how concerned are you that these generative AI abuses could actually also influence the European elections in June?
I'm quite worried, I must say. I think that this is one of the things that we really need to address, how this could be used also by those that would like to interfere in one way or another in our elections.
And in concrete terms, what exactly should the EU member states do in order to counter this threat?
I think it has to be discussed among different kind of ministers with different kind of responsibilities. Today will be mostly, I think, on the law enforcement angle of this, but there are, of course, also many other angles that we have to discuss. We also presented, as you know yesterday from the college, a new decision also on AI. So this is very much high on the agenda for all commissioners and all constellation of council. Thank you very much. Well, there is a lot of progress. For example, when it comes to Tunisia, the implementation of the Memorandum of Understanding is ongoing. Last week, there was a mission from our services on all the 5 different pillars in the MOU. And on my pillar, so to say, the migration, we have seen now that we have a lot of more presence from the UN organizations, UNHCR and IOM in Tunisia. UNHCR are registering 600% more refugees in Tunisia. IOM are supporting more migrants to go back voluntarily to the country of origin. And the Tunisian authorities are intercepting and arresting smugglers to a large extent. And the departures of irregular departure from Tunisia has gone down with 80–90% since the 1st of October. So I think we have a good progress there. Of course, much more needs to be done. Thank you.
Yes, okay. So first of all, I am very glad to be here with this occasion of the Informal Jail Council, launching the Belgian presidency with a very important agenda. I think migration and fighting with drug trafficking are 2 of the most important challenges and vulnerabilities for the whole member states of the European Union. Romania is engaged in this process. We took serious measures last year fighting with drug trafficking, and we intend to continue this year on the same path. And I would like to mention that in our country, we structured the effort fighting with drug trafficking. We organized an interinstitutional group of work integrating many institutions with attributions in preventing and fighting with drug trafficking. As we discussed yesterday, I think the ports are an important issue on this agenda, and we should focus on fighting with drug structured with this challenge, with this flagell. Drug trafficking, it's the result of the action of the organized crime. They are working in networks, they are working internationally, and we should organize the same. Romania will be in the front line of this fight. Also, I would like to mention our satisfaction that last year the Council took an important decision extending the Schengen area with Romania and Bulgaria with air border and sea border. And I think the natural continuation of this process should be based on the results, on the application of the decision of the Council took last year. In other words, in obtaining more and more better results on challenging, tackling the illegal migration and enhancing the border protection. Romania invested an important budget last year for border protection. We will continue to do it this year also. We expect to have the support of the European Commission, of the Belgian presidency. We focus on a very good cooperation and dialogue with the Austrian authorities. I have a very good dialogue with Minister Karner, and I think this is the key to continue successfully this process. Thank you.
For that, my cameraman needs to meet.